Delighted for me to introduce our next speaker, Derek Keats. May I also ask all those lovely students who've been working with him on the project to come up on stage and take a bow. Derek Keats is responsible for coordinating the whole online presence of the video streaming of this conference. As you speak, this whole conference has been streaming live from the web servers of the University of the Western Cape, thanks in part to some of the students over here. Will you all please come up on stage and take a bow? Yes, here on the stage. Meet the paparazzi. Yes, and can we switch the laptops too? While we switch laptops and while the crew comes up on stage, let me introduce Derek Keats. He's the Executive Director of the Information and Communication Services Division at the University of Western Cape in South Africa. He's a champion of National Institution of Higher Education in global context. His background is very interesting. He started off in marine biology, has also started the Internet Bioeducation Project and the Internet for Environmental Education, also part of the Seaweed Africa Project. For 3 years, he was the director of the Cape Information IT Initiative. Is a champion of e-collaboration, a big champion of open source, open content tools on the internet, and is a big champion also of free and open resources of education. Will you all please put your hands together for this fantastic team, Derek Keats and his entire crew, for taking this message of this conference to a global audience. Derek, a few quick words first on how many people are seeing this website right now, how many countries, etc.
Well, I think Paul at the back there, who didn't come up on stage, is the person who's doing the streaming, and he's keeping track of who's watching. On the first day, we had people on 3 continents, 4 continents, and I don't know how many countries, but it's not a large number of people because this is a specialized conference, and it hasn't been widely publicized, but we've had a number of people viewing the streams, including my own staff back at the university, who probably are listening to this at the moment as well. So, hi guys.
Thanks, Fritz. Now we need to run against time, and Derek, you need to finish before 10 o'clock when we have load shedding.
Yeah, we just talked about streaming, so this is a picture I took yesterday and uploaded to my blog, which, by the way, I just registered on Amatomo, so it's there now. And this is a picture of the speaker speaking. I'm streaming to my laptop, and the speaker is in the background, so you can see the kind of thing that we've been doing. I'm going to take a different focus from what has been done so far and talk about education. And when I just registered on Amatomo, I was very surprised to find that education, which is actually one of the largest industries worldwide, bigger than the motion picture industry and the music industry combined, doesn't have a category on Amatomo. So maybe, Vincent, you can help us out there, get education as a category. So I'm going to talk about convergence in an open world, distributed knowledge infrastructure for what Philip Schmidt and I call Education 3.0. And I'm not doing a classic PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to try and mix up a little bit of use of software and use of technologies that actually demonstrate this kind of applications. And we're doing some of it, as you just heard, with respect to the streaming the live video and audio feeds from this conference to an open source server based at the University of the Western Cape, and displaying it in an interface in an application framework called Chisimba, which is 100% made in Africa. We call it a framework for building software and skills because we are a network of African universities, and here you can see our locations. And when I show these things, these are live websites. This is a mashup of Google Maps with some data from our website and displayed in the Chisimba interface, just to give you a sense of the kind of technology that we can bring to bear on education, and some of the things that we can do as we think about the convergence, particularly of fixed mobile and internet capabilities. Now, if you go to our site, you can click on any of these, and you can find out who they are and what their role is in the network. So we're a network of 13 African universities plus Kabul University and Kabul Medical University in Afghanistan, and some partnerships with universities in North America and actually South America as well, but I don't have them on the map at the moment. Now, one of the things about educational institutions is that they're founded on the premise of scarcity. Educational resources, textbooks, lab facilities, professors are scarce, so we aggregate them into physical institutions, brick walls, and we build classrooms and all of those things. We build libraries. When I started university, I had to leave my hometown, population 2,100 people, and go 300 kilometers away from my house to attend university, primarily because the technology to bring the university to me wasn't there. And even if I could bring the university to me, I wouldn't have access to books. So I had to physically transport myself to the university. And if you think about it, this is analogous to how telecommunications technologies developed. Big operators aggregated demand and so on. And in both education and telecommunications, the need to aggregate demand is becoming less and less. It's not going to go away completely, but it's becoming less and less. And there are more opportunities for things to happen that are out in the long tail of the curve. Now, the aggregated demand, we find that when we put together courses and we bring students into universities, there's a limited number of things that we can do, but there's a lot of interests that lie out in the long tail of the curve, and these are unrealized opportunities. And what we are thinking about in terms of Education 3.0 is, what if we could live in a world where scarcity wasn't the key driver anymore? And it's that we call Education 3.0, and maybe we can also have Business 3.0, and maybe we can also think about Telecoms 3.0, not 2.0. 2.0 is just technology. 3.0 is when your processes change to accommodate the possibilities of new technologies. Some of the characteristics of Education 3 is the possibilities for students to make choices that are different, that are individualized, that are different from the kinds of choices that are available now. Instead of having to sit in a class with 500 people, you might be able to sit in your home with 20 people, 10 people, one person, and study. Another characteristic is that people make choices on the basis of the credibility of the organization or the credibility of the content that they're going to use to study. Reusable learning content is becoming much more abundant. You may have heard of MIT OpenCourseWare. There's a lot of reusable education content that's becoming available, a lot of content on the internet that's suitable for learning, that doesn't require people to go anymore to physical libraries in order to study. And some of that is created by the students themselves. Two of the students that are here today are part of a project at UWC called Rip, Mix, and Learn, where the students are actually producing the content, not the lecturers. Also on the landscape is recognition of learning achieved, which currently is mainly in the form of recognition of prior learning, where you get some credit for learning that you have done in order to get into a program that you would not ordinarily qualify for. Well, that can be adapted to recognize any learning. It doesn't have to be to pre-qualify you for getting into a program. And then the big thing for me is collaboration. Cross-institutional collaboration, decentralized collaboration, the kind of Facebook universe of education, non-institutional collaboration, and of course individual collaboration. And it's this that is the key, and that I want to focus on today, and look at some of the technologies for doing that, and some of the things that we have developed within the context of this ADWA project. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples. You heard about blogs in the last talk. Another very popular tool. Sorry, I changed my screen there. A very popular tool these days are wikis. So imagine a wiki. Imagine an essay. Imagine you're a student in the university and you get an essay from your lecturer, and you write the essay and you type it out in some word processor, and you print it out and you hand it in to the lecturer, or you email it to the lecturer. I mean, that's incredibly boring these days. That's really old technology. I mean, we should be moving beyond that. Nowadays, you can put anything into an essay type assignment. You can put in a video. You can put in audio. You can put in interactive applications. You can ask people to do something. And all of this kind of stuff can be done in the context of a wiki. So here's my wiki. I'm the student in this wiki, and my lecturer is Dr. Grant W. Grant. And he's left me a message. He's left me a note with some suggestions on how I might improve my assignment, which I'm obviously not going to go through, just to show you the principle here. And here, for example, I've been given an assignment on Internet in Africa, bandwidth and the digital divide. So what happens, I've found a video. The video happens to be on YouTube, so I've simply embedded it. And I've left a note for my lecturer that, that this is a work in progress, but this is telling. So I'm going to play it. You're not getting sound.
This map shows network performance measured from Trieste, Italy to African universities from April 2007 to March 2008. Darker red dots indicate higher speeds such as provided by ADSL or better. Clearer lighter dots indicate lower speeds, in some cases as poor as a 56 kilobit per second modem. If a site is unreachable, its dot disappears, so flickering dots indicate instability. If all dots disappear, the measurement host has experienced an outage.
So what did you notice there? You noticed that there are very few dots in the highest category, and there's a tremendous amount of flickering. And that's because our networks that connect our education institutions are incredibly unstable. Now, you guys are the people that can help us sort that out. We desperately need it to be sorted out. We have big industry education. We may not be in a position to make you wealthy right now, but if we can grow our educational institutions, there is a market there. Here's another example. This is actually the Gapminder application where you can plot indicators of human development against each other. So we might, for example, take internet users per 100 people and plot it against life expectancy at birth. And we might play that over time, and what you'll see is how Africa is different from the rest of the world. We don't live very long, and we don't access the internet. Look at that. All the blue dots are Africa. That's very telling. So these are some of the kinds of things that you can do using simple technology like a wiki. Students can do these assignments without any problem. Let's go to the blog. Faiza has been taking some pictures with my cell phone, and here's one that she just took, which is now already on my blog. We're only using images because to do anything other than images would simply take too long, because it takes a long time to upload a video. But we could do this with video. We could do it with audio clips. You could be recording yourself giving a talk and send it from your cell phone. You could record a meeting and send it to your blog if you wanted to do that. You can record video. I think I might even have a video here further down. Here's one that my son recorded with my phone the other day. It is an actual video. Okay, my daughter playing the keyboard. And so mobile technology, the web, social networking, internet, Web 2.0, all of these things, we're working on this stuff in Africa. It's got tremendous potential for application in education. We are, of course, limited and held back by some things. And there are a number of things that hold us back. So we have on the left-hand side here, the size of the potential impact on society and economy and education in particular. And on the right-hand side here, what's a reasonable representation of the actual realized impact. So what's holding us back? Well, the number of things holding us back, of course, income levels are relatively low in Africa. So costs of the equipment needed to do this sort of stuff is one barrier. There are software-related costs if you don't use free and open-source software. There are content-related costs. There's also the problem of critical mass. One of the reasons why we created this network of people working together in Africa was to try and create some virtual critical mass. And one of the difficulties, of course, is that in education, there is a tremendous amount of inertia. We tend to have business as usual in education. And then I often say that education, not space, is the final frontier. Because other sectors get on board with the application of technology much faster than we do in education. And then, of course, there's the cost and scarcity of bandwidth, which is related to two areas, having new business models that can work, that can enable you as service providers to support education while not sacrificing necessarily profit. And of course, everybody knows about the regulatory framework and the impact that that has. So what I've tried to do in a very short time is to give you a little bit of a summary of some of the kinds of things that we can do. Another area that is emerging is the personal learning environment. This is not necessarily technology per se, but ways of doing things. So a wiki can become a personal learning environment. A blog can become a personal learning environment. I can aggregate things into my blog. I can show videos from YouTube. I can upload pictures from my cell phone. I can interview Madan and have it in my blog in 5 minutes from now. You can download it from my blog, or my lecturer could look at it and give me a grade for that. All of these things are possible. Podcasting is another area where we have tremendous opportunity, where, for example, you can record onto your cell phone, onto a mobile device, onto an iPod. I have my iPod in my pocket here. I'm recording myself at the moment. When I'm done, I will create slides out of this stuff. I will upload the slides to SlideShare. I will sync the audio with the slides, and then I'll put it in my blog. And I will do all of that in about 11 to 12 minutes. And it looks like the Java applet is loading very slowly here, so I will just continue. So podcasting is one way in which both the lecturers and the students can create and share content. I, as a lecturer, might record my lecture. I might be teaching math, for example, or teaching history or politics, something which the students would benefit from hearing again. More interesting, though, are the kinds of things that the students can do. Going out into the field and interviewing role players in the area that they're studying. Interviewing social work students, for example, going out into the community and interviewing other social workers. Or even going out and interviewing clients of the social work program. And it looks like Java has crashed my browser here. So those are some of the things that we can do. Now, in this project of ours with 13 African universities, Kabul University and a few others, we have developed the technology to enable all this stuff to happen. And if any of you guys are interested in some really cool projects, well, we have the technology to do it, if it didn't crash. And so we have a team that can do really interesting and innovative teams. Doesn't want my connection to the internet to work. Sorry, just bear with me for 1 second here. I just wanted to show you the last slide, which says that basically we've done all of this stuff with free and open source software, and we have people in Africa in 8 countries that can do this kind of work, collaborate with us, and really there is nothing holding us back in Africa except bandwidth. And I always say there are 3 problems with trying to do this kind of work in Africa. The first one is bandwidth, the second one is bandwidth, and the third one is bandwidth. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Derek, for an excellent demonstration of the future and the current potential of Web 2.0 technologies. Questions, comments from the audience, please? Both these sessions, the previous one and this one, are good examples of what is possible with service excellence in news, in education, etc. Derek, you have a very good publishing record as well, a very distinguished one. In fact, I first met Derek when we worked on a book project called Africa.edu about higher education in Africa. Any new publications you're working on to showcase some of this stuff?
Well, we've just, Philip and I just published at the beginning of sometime last year the concept of Education 3.0, which has, as I said, the real nature of Education 3.0 is not the technology, but what technology enables individuals and organizations to achieve. And the change from a closeted kind of brick-walled environment to a much more open, collaborative environment is what we really call Education 3.0. So we're still working on some additional publications on that. We've got one coming out on how do you assess quality when the walls are porous, which is which was a talk that I gave at UNESCO conference last year. And we're working on a couple of other things with respect to how technology can change education, I think, for the better. And this is not something which is an alternative to traditional ways of doing education. It's something which can build onto those things and support them and improve the quality.
What's been your experience with partnering with ISPs and telecom operators and mobile operators for getting better bandwidth? Or what are good examples you've seen elsewhere of universities with very good deals for getting good bandwidth?
Well, we haven't really partnered very much with the private sector, and that's probably a gap on our part. Simply, we don't know who to contact. You know, the private sector is this big mysterious enterprise that's out there, and oftentimes when you get in contact with them, you go through the wrong person, and you get a very stony, cold face. You know, we don't, and a lot of I think a lot of African companies don't believe we can do this stuff in Africa as well. And I think we have, somehow or the other, we have to get past our own credibility gap and start to see that we can actually do really interesting and innovative things in Africa. What I'd really like to see is I'd like to see the next Mark Shuttleworth or anyone else who's made a decent income out of technology come out of projects like this. And there's no reason why they couldn't. The guys who created Facebook were just people doing exactly what we're doing. You know, and they've made a reasonable amount of money, I think, or maybe an unreasonable amount of money out of their work. So yeah, we had. I mean, this is an interesting story actually. This work got started because I was involved in the Telecom Center of Excellence program, and we had a Center of Excellence that was supported by Telkom and Siemens, which eventually was called the Center of Excellence in ATM and Broadband Networking. And I was a biologist, and I had to teach myself about ATM networking in 6 weeks in order to set up a network. Anyway, that's another story. But we got started in this kind of work through that program, and it eventually morphed into what's now the Center of Excellence in IP and Internet Applications, which is now a separate thing in the Computer Science Department. But our work really got started with that project. So we have had partnerships with the telecom sector, and the current one is supported by Telkom and Cisco. But of course, we would love partnerships with the private sector. If anybody's interested in doing some really cool stuff, you know, we've got the technology and we've got the people.
In fact, perhaps if there are operators in the audience who want to find out how to set up a center of excellence in one of their local universities, you could give us some advice on what's possible, what's feasible.
Of course, yes.
Any other questions, comments from the audience? A round of applause, please, for Derek and his lovely team for doing a fantastic job. For the first time, this conference is being streamed live on the internet, thanks to Derek and his team.